Good morning, and welcome to First U Sunday morning. I'm Reverend Roger Peltier. I'm the assistant minister here at First U, and I will be worshiping with you this morning. We're going to begin by lighting our chalice, and it's okay to pause if you need to go get a candle or matches. We'll be ready together, I promise. Okay, now we'll say our chalice words together. These are the words we say every Sunday. This light burns also in our hearts, and it lights our path towards harmony and justice and hope for all. As I thought about this week's worship theme, kindness, I came upon these familiar words from the 14th Dalai Lama. He said, "Be kind whenever possible. It's always possible." I suppose that's the whole reflection here in a nutshell. Simply put, be kind. Oh, that may not be so simple after all, though. I remember as a kid how much I actually liked being kind, as nerdy as I know that might sound. I heard someone say to my mother one time, "He's such a peach." And how cool, I thought. I didn't need to be cute like a kitten or tough like a dragon. From then on, I wanted to be a peach. And I liked my mother's sweet praise and my father's strong approval. I think every boy does deep down. Now, Mom had no shortage of words when she was happy with something I had done. Of course, she had shorter but quite direct words when she wasn't so happy with what I'd done. Now, Dad took a completely different approach. Ice cream. Whenever there was a family drama, and with 6 kids, a dog, and a gerbil, I promise you there was always family drama. Anyway, after an argument, after each cold and steely stare, this was inevitably followed with cold and sweet ice cream. Toss about with my brother was always good for a cone with jimmies on top. Arguing with my 3 sisters, who seemed to work like a pack, ended with a sticky strawberry sundae. And the parental problem, the golden nugget of all, reconciled itself with us splitting a banana split. Now, I think I started developing a system and this belly right about then. Praise for a peach and ice cream for a mensch. It's laughable to remember it that way, I guess, because if you know me, I'm sure you see through this whole ruse. Any upset in my house would cause a big upset in me. Hence, being kind and ice cream. In my house, there were 3 rules. Love God, love learning, be kind. Now, I don't know that there's actually a religious requirement for kindness. There is no "thou shalt be kind" commandment. But there is at least the implication of kindness in most spiritual systems. Love one another as I have loved you certainly suggests some kind of kindness, some kind of goodwill. And like religion, kindness isn't some magic trick like do a good deed and a rabbit comes out of a hat and you get a reward. It's more of a virtue. I've heard it said kindness is more important than wisdom, and the recognition of such is the beginning of wisdom. So the wise know something that may be useful to us, especially today. We've been locked up in lockdown for a few weeks now. All this time together, times with ourselves, is beginning to make us stink and test our patience. Another virtue. You would think we'd be incubating or somehow growing into a kinder, gentler people. And that's probably mostly right. We are social creatures, and we need one another when we mourn and require comfort, when we're in trouble and afraid, when we're in despair and temptation and need to be recalled to our best selves again. Still, I can't help but point out our being social people doesn't make us automatically kind or even agreeable people. Needing one another is grating on our nerves nowadays because there's no relief. Kindness is something we have to work at to develop. It is a spiritual practice. Racktivists, or random acts of kindness activists, would agree with this. Kindness isn't a series of gestures, it's a lifestyle. Kindness can't be random, it has to be intentional. Kindness doesn't require much, but it can change everything. So as we consider COVID and post-COVID and what world we want, what needs to change. A couple of weeks ago, kindness was trending around here at First U. Reverend Liz baked brownies for the mail carrier, and DRE Kathy put thank you notes on the trash cans for the pickup crew. And many of us, like many the world over, are singing and applauding at night as a way of thanking our essential workers. I think we will want to keep some of these practices, but will we? What prevented our doing these things before the virus? Now, I just mentioned our patience is thin and our tempers, well, these may be getting as short as my mom's words when she was upset. The good news is that businesses are starting to reopen, and we're taking our first tentative steps, baby steps into the new normal. So it was that Polar Cave ice cream, opened its doors on Mother's Day weekend. And shop owner Mark Lawrence told folks by way of Facebook to place their orders online so they could save time. And of course, masks and 6-foot spacing was required. Some of the regulars did all this, but not everyone. And as you can imagine, as crowds thickened, politeness definitely thinned. People became demanding, then belligerent, then downright abusive, and even bullying. Lawrence reported people started acting like caged animals, hurling words that ought not be said in a men's locker room, let alone to a 17-year-old girl saving for college in the fall. And so just one day into the New World Order, kindness was so absent that the high schooler quietly finished her shift and turned in her apron. Now, it's worth noting that many folks did behave admirably. One woman even got out of her car and started helping to scoop ice cream. But shouldn't that have been the rule and not the exception? There have been other unjust, unkind actions too. This includes the shooting death of a guard at Family Dollar in Flint, Michigan, when he required a family of 3 put their masks on. Now, indeed, friends, I am not talking about Pollyanna good deeds here like be kind, please rewind, but possibly life-saving practices in patience and manners and compassion. There are other great expectations of good behavior too, and great exceptions. Upon hearing that a Westerly woman was not receiving her stimulus check, First U's own Ann Boyd took action. She emailed the Providence Journal asking about sending a donation, and she wasn't the only one to do so. But remarkably, the woman's family declined the cash, diverting it to a charity that they felt was a better use of the money. Kindness unto kindness, paying it forward. But again, what is or ought to be the rule? While we consider the way we want to live in the near future, we might remember that kindness has many benefits, including increased happiness and a healthy heart, slows down the aging process, and improves relationships and connections and sex, which all indirectly boost your health and your immune system. So being kind to others is good for you. It is worth remembering these days that we are all connected. We really are all connected. If COVID has taught us nothing else, it has shown on a global scale. Now, really, friends, think about that. It is shown on a global scale that what happens to one happens to all, readily and eventually. The world is inside out and upside down. Ice cream can create sweet moments, and ice cream can be the source of bitter behavior. We are interdependent people, but we're living in social isolation. And the jury is still deliberating on the case for kindness. In a surprise twist at Polar Cave Ice Cream, Mark Lawrence took to heart his employees' plight. He noticed people on Facebook were proud of her and the way she carried herself and started asking how they could help. So Lawrence started a GoFundMe page for the Polar Cave Ice Cream College Fund. Now, before he closed donations, the page had raised near $48,000. That's a lot of ice cream scoops. And that teenage freshman has a bright future indeed. In the end, maybe that's how we all make the case for kindness. One scoop at a time, $1 at a time, one act at a time. Indeed, my friends, be kind whenever possible. It is always possible. And to that, I'll add only 3 words. Humankind. Be both. Until we meet again, my friends, carry the flame. Amen.